Next up, we have my friend, Dr. Robert Malone, and he is one of the most important voices for medical freedom and informed consent. And he's been instrumental in exposing the corruption in our medical establishment. He's a physician, an inventor, a scientist, a bioethicist, and a journalist. And he's also, he is also the author of multiple titles, multiple books, including the seminal book, Psy Wars. So thanks so much for coming on for, I think, the 28th time.
Well, thank you for having me, Tony. I'm here in Ron Johnson's office. We were having conversations earlier about these amazing documents that he and his staff are working on. So I'd like to talk to you about microplastics today, folks. And let's start off. I want to ask you something. When did you last eat plastic? If you had a meal today, you ate plastic. If you drank water, you drank the plastic. Scientists now estimate that the average American consumes the equivalent of one credit card worth of microplastic particles every single week through our food, our water, the air in our own homes. This is not a fringe theory. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is peer-reviewed science published in some of the most respected medical journals in the world. And the findings are serious. What does the research show? In March 2024, the New England Journal of Medicine published a landmark study. Researchers operated on patients. They operated on patients to remove plaque from their arteries. And in that plaque, they find microplastics embedded in it. To quote from the journal, the patients who had plastic in their arteries were significantly more likely to suffer a heart attack, a stroke, or death in the 2 years that followed. This is not an animal study. This is direct human evidence of harm. Stanford researchers have since shown that microplastics get inside the cells lining our blood vessels and trigger major changes in how our genes behave. Other research has found microplastics in human brain tissue, in placenta, and in the blood of newborns. The smallest particles cross the placental barrier. Our children are being exposed even before they're born. The biological mechanisms at work here are inflammation, oxidative stress, hormonal disruption, and DNA damage. These are the same pathways behind heart disease, cancer, and infertility, the same conditions we have watched rise steadily decade after decade. So why does this matter for MAHA? Here's what I want you to sit with. Parents who raised concerns about plastics in baby bottles, in food packaging, in water supplies were dismissed. This is a familiar story to all of you. They were called alarmists. They were called conspiracy theorists. The regulatory agencies said it was under control. Read ahead. It was not under control. The FDA still permits an enormous range of plastics in food contact materials. The plastic shedding from your to-go container, your coffee cup lid, your water bottle, all unregulated. Meanwhile, chronic disease rates have climbed for decades, rising cancer, rising infertility, rising autoimmune conditions, all of which have been linked to microplastic exposure. The research is now catching up to what many of us long suspected. The environment we were told was safe wasn't safe. Question is, what can you do? You cannot eliminate your exposure, but you can reduce it significantly starting today. We've done this on the farm. We've switched a lot of our containers, almost all of them now, to mason jars. Switch to glass or stainless steel for food and water. Never heat food in plastic. Do not take that plastic container or that plastic bag and put it in the microwave because heat accelerates shedding. Filter your tap water, which typically has far fewer microplastics than bottled water. Buy whole foods and cook at home. Choose natural fibers over synthetic clothing. And for parents with young children, glass bottles, not plastic. Minimize plastic teething toys. These early exposures matter most because that's when developing organs are most valuable. Feel like you heard this before? You have. We did not wait for a perfect body of evidence before removing lead from paint and gasoline. We saw the signals, we understood the stakes, and we acted. This is exactly what is needed now. We need policymakers willing to regulate plastic in food contact materials. We need independent research free from industry influence. We need a movement that refuses to accept that chronic disease is simply the price of modern life. The science, trademark, is telling us something. It's time we listen to it. Thanks a lot for listening to me. And I hope your take home here is that you decide to get that stuff, all those stored materials out of plastic and into glass containers or stainless steel containers, and take care of yourself and your children. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Robert. Yeah, thanks. I mean, in 1967, there was a movie called The Graduate. I'm sure most of us have seen that. And they, made the argument that plastics was an incredible opportunity, that they were the future. But now we all know that they cause, like you said, significant harm, and that, we can't get rid of it now, but we can reduce it. And, plastics is not the future. We were going to publish a book, which we did later publish, called Plastic Free. And we had such a hard time because there's plastic in everything. And I didn't want to publish a book called Living Plastic Free that was filled with plastics. So we finally were able to make it minimal plastic. But it is so hard to get away from plastics, and we need to do it because we know that, there's going to be better and better science. Maybe it's not all there now, but there's enough of it that microplastics are a problem, and it's great to see an administration that's fighting it, that's teaching the public that they should try to avoid it, and that we can avoid chronic disease by having less of it in our lives. So thanks again for the work you're doing, for coming on the show, and for telling the truth.
Thanks, Tony.